YouTube, what the crap's going on? Heir of Carthage here, back in Total War Rome 2. And I'm going to be showing you another online battle. This is actually against the same player that I played yesterday. He picked the Seleucids, and I picked Carthage. And I think this battle has some interesting lessons in it. I'm not going to get too much into it at the beginning. I'll talk about it afterwards, because I don't want to spoil anything that's going to happen. But like I said, some interesting lessons. I brought a hoplite build, which I've done frequently with Carthage recently, since hoplites are a little more robust than they were previously. And then I brought 3 Cretan archers, 2 mercenary Numidian noble cav, because I'm kind of still experimenting with them. And I've got 2 Carthaginian cav, and then I have a javelin on either flank, and the idea behind that is that hopefully I can throw some javelins into a cav fight to help put things in my favor. So my opponent has kind of a thorax swords group here, backed up by a shield bearer. Over here he's got a mercenary Syrian armored elephant, 3 citizen cav, and then behind them you can see 2 silver shield swordsmen. Yeah, 2 silver shield swordsmen. And then he's got 3 standard archers up front, and then a light peltist back here. So standard archers are actually a pretty good deal in this patch. I'm pretty happy with them. So when the battle starts off, I see him initially making a push for the hill with all of his heavy cav and elephants. So I just simply turn my infantry basically to create a line here. And the idea is that now his guys will have to come, they'll have to come from further around the hill to get at me. And I don't want him to have cover in those trees from my javelin cav. I want him to come out in the open. And so basically I'm moving forward. I kind of assumed my opponent had stuff hidden here because this flank's kind of mysteriously empty. So it just kind of felt odd. So I was doing some scouting here with my Carthaginian cav, and sure enough he's got 2 Tarentine cav hidden. This is kind of a nuisance, to be honest. Because I don't really, my elephants need to focus on his, or my archers need to focus on his elephants. My Carthaginian cav is not well suited to dealing with Tarentine cav. They'll get outrun and shot to death. My mercenary Numidian cav needs to be over here to face his own elephants. And then my noble cav general's over here as well. Don't know if it was a good idea to bring a noble cav general, just wanted to try it. So they got a slight attack increase, which was nice, they needed it. But it looks like the trample ability is gone on pretty much all shot cav except for cataphracts. So we'll see how that plays out. These guys are still not great shot cavalry, but they ought to do pretty well against stuff like citizen cav. In fact, my opponent brings the citizen cav down, and I decide that it's time to countercharge him. So I widen up so I can actually stop all of his units, hopefully. And I'm going to try and maximize my charge. He did not countercharge me. So my guys get a clean charge, and then I do the battle rhythm, which boosts my attack and damage. So you can see that my noble cav actually racking up quite a few kills pretty quickly on that citizen cav. And then I threw some late Libyan hoplites in there, but my opponent's going to reinforce with the silver shields, and then I see his elephants headed towards my flank. So I'm trying to get hoplites in his way and get my archers already targeting him, which they do get a very nice volley here, but his elephants are pulling away from that, and then his archers are getting free shots on my own. I was kind of hoping that his Tarentine cav would get distracted, and I was going to make a move on his archers here. But he's still got a lot of infantry to support. And again, here you can see his elephants come in the fight against my hoplites in general. There was really not a whole lot of good reason to put these elephants in this fight, and they actually run amok now. And I've got javelins and everything else just unloading on them. And his cavalry has actually gotten thrashed by my noble cav at this point. They got 40 kills against the citizen cav. And then the javelins being thrown in against his elephants killed a lot of his citizen cav too. Now, fortunately for him though, these guys escape without being shattered, which means that in this patch they'll probably come back later. And his elephants are going to deal with my general. And then I made one other mistake here. My Numidian cav were not on fire at will. I thought they were, so this whole time I thought I was sitting here getting javelin shots, but I was not. So a big mistake on my part. Big mistake. The problem that I have over here is I can go into hoplite phalanx and keep my opponent from wanting to charge me, but the problem is he's got missiles and he doesn't have to charge, and he could potentially sit here and unload his javelins with his swords too, and he is. See that? So a lot of people thought hoplites were way too powerful now, but this is the downside. I can't force an engagement with my opponent. Now someone told me that you can actually activate hoplite wall now with your hoplites once they're already in combat. I don't know that. Notice here how I split up, how I split my archers when he got a cav through. I'm going to go in 3 different directions. It didn't work great, but you can see what the idea was. Again, I shouldn't have let his Tarantine Cav get through, and with the kind of armor that Tarantine Cav have, they are actually pretty good at pulling through and staying in front of you because they're quick and they're fairly well armored. So if they slip through you, chances are they'll keep slipping through. And again, he's going to demonstrate the maneuverability of swords here versus my swords, which are having to stay, or my hoplites, which have to stay still. So basically, I'm having a lot of trouble right now. I don't have any way to stop my opponent's infantry. And my Numidian Cav, which has the power to even out the fight in the infantry department, is over here. And again, I had him off of fire at will this whole time, and it's been bad. So I finally realized it, get them into fire at will. And I'm going to help finish off these Syrian armored elephants, which haven't made a huge impact in the battle. Only 42 kills. The unfortunate thing is my general was one of the few units over there that got routed around the elephants. Most of my men are disciplined, though, so it'll be okay, but it's not good. And again here, even though I can charge his guys in the back, his archers are back here completely unchecked, and they're going to mow down my hoplites. And the elephants are finally gone. But at this point, it's kind of too late. You see what I mean? Like, I used my tools to stop my opponent as best I could, but I made a lot of mistakes. So in the fight against the elephants, for instance, I should have had my Numidian Cav over there and left them on fire at will, while my Cretan archers destroyed his own archers so that they could then focus on his infantry. That would have forced him to attack me and put me in a better spot. And if these guys had been in fire at will, I could have killed his elephants much quicker and then potentially swung around here for some hammer and anvil charges in the infantry fight. And hopefully his Silver Shield swordsman wouldn't have been able to get there in time. So again, if I would have properly supported, it would have made a huge difference. But I think that my opponent did something good here, and that's what I want to point out. I just think he picked a better build here. His swords are more maneuverable and gives him more options, and he was able to capitalize on it. Like, his elephants didn't do a big killing job, but they don't have to. He's got swords. The swords can do killing. Whereas for me, my cavalry was absolutely necessary. Either that or my Cretans were absolutely necessary to kill, because your hoplites won't kill the enemy infantry. They can hold them, they can beat them up a little, but they won't kill them. So really, my problem was my army selection here, I think. I didn't bring the right units for killing other infantry. Like, honestly, I probably should have just brought some Libyan infantry, and it would have been a lot better facing off against these thorax swordsmen. It would have given me a little more flexibility, or even better yet, Scutari. They're cheap, they would have lasted a long time against the thorax swords, they have good javelins, and you know, it would have been a way for me to have cheaper infantry than his, but still basically be able to match him. So I think those were some of the mistakes. The Numidian Noble Cav, not a bad plan, but honestly, probably could have just brought 4 Carthaginian Cav and a couple of Numidian, just standard Numidian mercenaries, and that would have given me more flexibility too. So army choice sometimes makes a big difference. I think my opponent did a great job of using the army that he brought here. His elephants were probably a little misused over here, but he did great over on this side. He did engage my hoplite phalanx. He used his archers to pick away at mine while mine were busy trying to kill his elephants. He pushed his sword through gaps. He snuck his Tarantine Cav around and was able to stay in front of me and kind of keep pulling towards my archers and killing them. So he did a great job. He knocked out my killing power, basically, which is my cavalry and my archers, which left me with no way to kill him. So again, I think it was a brilliant job on his part with those units. And again, even though he misused his elephants, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he misused them, because he had the rest of the tools that he needed. So it's one of those things where there's some times when you're going to have multiple tools to be able to get the job done, and in this case he had that, whereas my army was much more inflexible. And so it left him in a great position. Again, I thought he did really well here, and it taught me an interesting lesson. You know, when I'm going to bring these hoplite builds, I need to be more keenly aware of what the killing power of my army is, and be better at protecting it and better at using the assets I have. Whereas if I wanted to, you know, this, and some people ask me, well, why would you even bring swords anymore when hoplites are strong? Like, it's exactly for this reason. They're more flexible. And even in a position like this, see where my hoplites have him surrounded, it doesn't matter. His swords will fight his way out of this. So it's just one of those things that hoplites are a holding force. They're a defensive force. They're kind of good at stopping enemy cavalry. They're not a killing force. And even against other spearmen, it takes a while for them to kill because their attack and damage isn't high. So again, I think it's just an important lesson to be learned here about the way you pick your army. I'm going to fast forward this. My opponent definitely has the tools to finish me off here. I did end up in the end killing quite a few of his Silver Shield swordsmen. Both my Numidian Cav got decent numbers of kills. Questionable as to whether or not it was enough to pay them off. And clearly they weren't able to play any decisive role in helping to lead me to victory. So in the end, it didn't matter. But they were two of the more effective units in my army. But again, you can see hoplites aren't going to get any kills. And since he neutralized my archers, this was the only place where I got any kills, and it didn't matter because nothing else did. So again, my general, considering he went into 3 citizen cab and was then attacked by elephants, actually did pretty good, I think, all things considered. Look at his general here. I had no way to stop his shield bearer, and these guys chewed through a couple of units of my hoplites. The silver shield swordsman getting a lot of kills as well because it was against hoplites. The rest of his infantry, not a ton of kills because he didn't have to. He was pushing past my formation. His archers, these two did great. I don't know how this one got 0 kills. I must have gotten it with a cab unit or something. But yeah, look at this Tarentine cab here, totally paying for itself. That was a clutch unit right there. Killed a ton of my Cretan archers. So a great job on his part with that unit as well. And the light peltas didn't do bad, getting 77 kills. In any case, hope you all enjoyed this one. So it taught me a little bit of a lesson about how to treat my armies and kind of maybe how I want to rethink a little bit of how I pick stuff in this patch. And I think that's one of the fun things about playing online battles is even when you lose, it kind of teaches you a bit of a lesson. So appreciate my opponent for the fun games. I hope you all enjoyed this one. I will be back soon with more online action. HeirofCarthage signing off for now.